Phoenix Down Radio is on the air.
Welcome, everybody, to Phoenix Down Radio, episode number 136. I am your host, Klauss Nightbringer. Joining me, we have Taliz and we have Seyrr. And I think Taliz is going to throw up a little bit from Seyrr. If you joined us in the pre-show, we're not going to repeat all of it, but that's why you need to come join us live at twitch.tv/Phoenix Down Radio, okay? Okay.
Nothing good comes of it, and you should still totally be here because it's fun.
I don't know what you're talking about. It looks like a workable recipe with flavor profiles that actually line up.
Welcome to 2021.
Brought to you by Mountain Dew Gamer Ramen.
We are 9 days into it, and I'm already thrown up in my mouth from something that Seyrr showed me. We're off to a rockin' start here at Phoenix Down Radio.
Yeah.
Seriously, though, it has been weeks since we have gotten together for a show. Welcome to 2021, y'all.
We are
just past the 7-day return policy on it.
But at least it's not 2020.
Bro, that's a low bar.
Yeah.
That's true, but it is what it is. How have you guys been? Did you have a good holiday?
Yes. It was called Friday. That was all it was.
The time off was really nice.
I'll say I had a really good time up north with family. We exchanged alcohol.
Ooh.
Because that's the gift that keeps on, I don't know, it doesn't keep on giving, but it's
fermenting.
Keeps it doesn't go bad necessarily. Yeah, I got a couple types of whiskey. Always good.
Stuff.
But yeah, so that was fun, and we got to hang out and got to drive my new car. Kind of nice. I had to drive in a blizzard to get up there, but
dude, sweet.
it wasn't bad. It just took a little longer. That's all. But no, that was good. My New Year's sucked. I had to work because, well, that's like our busiest time. That's our Black Friday. So, and there were way too many people there. But we'll get into that in another. That's a whole another discussion.
That's a different rant.
Exactly. Aside from that, yeah, we're back at it, and hopefully 2021 will bring us some amazing things. The only sad piece of news that I have was Twitch Sings is no more.
Oh,
I'm actually very sad about that. I mean, I understand DMCA, as evil as it is something that is they need to be worried about, but it was such a fun game. I mean, we can't go to bars and sing karaoke, so why not go online and sing and drink and, you know, broadcast it to the world.
A lot of the stakeholders would be fine with stuff not being able to be used for well, it's complicated and gets to me ranting about copyright law, so let's get into it.
We only have about an hour and a half, Seyrr, so no.
All right, that'll be enough for the preamble.
Yeah, that's exactly. We'll have to start a whole new podcast for that. Seyrr's hot takes on copyright law.
All right, new plan for a second show for all three of us, where the two of us will pick a topic and that the other person really, really hates, and the third person takes shots every 10 minutes and bitches about whatever topic it is, and the other two just rapid fire questions at them.
Oh, so basically Final Fantasy XIV for you?
Thank you gift from one of my coworkers. I'm ready.
Like I said, I got like I said, 2 kinds of whiskey for Christmas. So.
Oh my God! No.
We might get through episode 3.
I was gonna say we would get through 3 episodes because whoever didn't do episodes 1 and 2 would make episode 3 happen, and then we would probably just all go to jail or the hospital. One of the two.
Why not both?
Yeah,
Sounds good.
It might be the kind where send you to the hospital, but there's an officer waiting by your bed, and as soon as you're able to be discharged, yeah, you're gone. That sounds likely.
Dude, this hospital sucks. All right. So, do we have any more show news, or are we just all going to talk about how much we want to get drunk right now?
Well, I do have a cider, so.
Excellent.
Anything
Seyrr,
else?
what have you been up to for the last 3 weeks?
I didn't work too much, and that was nice. I had some vacation time to burn. I had a breakdown in the kitchen at one point, and one of my housemates hugged me, so that was nice. The world is complicated right now, and it kind of sucks.
True.
And then we had what happened this week happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know how much we want to get into it, but holy shit. I mean, we got people storming the Capitol when they're trying to certify the results of the election.
So for everybody that is kind of new-ish to the podcast, obviously the last couple of years have been very interesting, so to speak. We've sort of taken the position of choosing to be a form of levity in these really, really dire, unprecedented, weird moments in time and history that we're living through. That being said,
there's limits to how long you can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
We are, however, acknowledging that stuff is happening. We are not straight up ignoring it because we're video game nerds. Stuff is happening. We will talk about it. So don't worry, we're not ignoring it, but we're also not going to spend 2 hours of our moments of levity where we talk about stuff we love by bitching about things that make us sad.
There are a lot
I have enough sleepless nights as it is.
Yeah, there are a lot of better places to get that information, but shit. That's all I gotta say. Holy shit.
Yeah, that seems to about sum it up.
Klauss, other than visiting your family for holiday stuff, what have you been up to the last couple weeks?
Like I said, I had to work over New Year's and then was on call during that time. I'm on call again. Fortunately, I have a friend covering tonight, which is nice, so thank you for that. Aside from that, just hoping that 2021 is going to lead to something to what we can call a normal year. So
whatever the hell normal looks like, I am all for it at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, it was never going to be the case that 2020 is over and bam, everything resets.
No, I know.
We were still in a fairly precarious place.
At least we have vaccines now.
Yes.
Vaccines are going out. People are getting shots, and hopefully it's going to help the situation. We don't know yet. It's too early to tell. But
this is something about which I know a lot, but I don't think we want to turn it into Phoenix Depression Radio.
Nope.
No.
All right.
So we wouldn't have to change the merchandising. The PDR would be the same. Hi, I'm Seyrr.
Do I need to mail you ice cream again? Because I swear to God, if I will.
I would not object. Like ice cream.
I wonder if I can get it
shit.
there.
You
by
know
the end
what?
of the show.
I should get chocolate malted crunch.
And I bet you it would taste really good with a little bit of Bailey's drizzle over the top.
Wait, you can do that to ice cream?
Why not?
How have I never thought about this?
Homeboy, you grab yourself a pint of ice cream, you grab yourself a spoon, you eat about 4 bites, and then you grab some booze and an immersion blender. You're welcome.
Well, have you not had a mudslide before? It's basically vanilla ice cream, Kahlua, Bailey's, and maybe vodka.
Dude, I'm not that gay.
Ouch.
Fucking, oh my God. That was the best response ever.
Thank you.
Ouch.
I have had one before that just seemed like the appropriate rejoinder.
I need to step out for a second. Jesus. All right.
So, game and community news. I got nothing else. I got nothing now.
Yeah.
No, actually, we do have some news. We have started the Extra Life 2021 campaign. Just a end of 2020, we still had the $1,051, which is our best year. Thank you very much, everybody, for that. I will be playing Final Fantasy X-2 on stream in 2021.
You generous fuckers.
So we will be taking care of that. But we already have a donor. The first donor of 2021 is none other than our show friend Kane Thorbreaker donated through Facebook to the cause already, so we're well on our way.
Yeah, more
Thank you,
generous fuckers. Well done.
Good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm very happy for that. We have lots of stuff we want to plan. We want to do more than just Extra Life. I mean, we are working with a guy who has his own nonprofit. There will be plans to do a charity stream to benefit Marvelous Motors in the future.
Yep.
So look forward for information on that. We're gonna try and raise some funds so people can get cars out in the Seattle area. I don't know how far you actually reach with your organization, but
we actually I originally didn't have a boundary. I was like, whatever, we're a local company, it'll be fine. Well, it turns out when you say local to somebody that's never left their hometown, they think local is the 4 blocks around where they've spent their entire life.
Fair.
And so I was like, oh, cool, you're local. That's amazing. Where are you from? And she's like, Lexington, Kentucky. And I'm like, we're in Everett. Do you even know where that is? And she's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, we are local to Everett, not local to the town that you've lived in your whole life and the second house you've ever lived in 45 years. I don't know what to do. I can't send you a Mazda with a slightly quirky throttle 2,500 miles. It's a $600 car. It's not gonna work. So we kind of have to shrink it down, but the long-term goal is to go nationwide and just have partners around the country that can help us out. But for right now, we're staying West Washington based, but we are definitely looking to expand. Also, Alleywitz in the chat is actually my artist, which is freaking amazing. And they have been incredibly helpful these last couple weeks, making sure that I don't go completely insane and I still get stuff done.
Well, domo
Yay,
arigato,
art.
Mr. Roboto.
Art.
But yeah, so yeah, look for if you guys have ideas on things you would like to see for a charity stream for Marvelous Motors, let us know. We will definitely take some of those ideas. So we'll maybe do something like that spring or summer of this year. I don't know if you guys, we had talked in the past about maybe having you guys do your own Extra Life streams. We just have a Phoenix Down Radio team. I don't know if you're interested in doing that, where Seyrr could support Benioff and Taliz could support whatever hospitals up in the Seattle area. I know
people have started buying me games. People have started buying me games saying that I want to see you stream it and see how you react to it. So I feel like I should follow through on that.
I mean, that would be definitely a thing to do. I mean, we could set up our own individual streams and do stuff like that. I bought Minecraft for crying out loud. I mean, it's only taken me, what 10 years?
Diggy.
How old is that game?
I want to say it was 2013 it came out.
Good Lord.
No, or was it 2011? Somewhere in
2009.
That long ago. Jesus.
Dang.
So it's actually older than Final Fantasy XIV, huh?
Yep.
Well, that was the alpha that came out in 2009, wasn't it?
Let me see.
PDR is now Minecraft channel. Yeah, I'm trying to get out of it too, Nick Nar.
I mean, it is fun. I am enjoying it. I mean, shit. I mean, on last night's stream, I found diamonds within 3 hours.
Nice.
So, I mean, granted, I'm playing on a single player world right now, but
So yes, a paid public alpha in 2009.
Okay.
November 2011 was when the official release happened.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, it's still a 10-year-old game, I guess. So, but
Phoenix Down reference. Oh God, I'm off the clock. Why am I doing this?
I don't know, man.
So yeah,
Can't help you from here.
So yeah, we got that going on. Anything else you guys want to discuss before we jump into it?
I felt like I had something, but right now I just I should have another taco, except eating on stream doesn't quite feel right.
Well, I'm hypoglycemic, so y'all can do whatever you want.
Crunchy.
Sweet. Crunch.
So, gaming community news. There is a bunch of Final Fantasy XIV stuff to talk about. It is currently Heavensturn, and the event runs until January 18th. So let's copy paste this sucker.
And we're getting helmets again.
We get all the helmets, bull helmets, ox helmets, I
Yeah.
guess, technically, but
I was gonna say, add it to my pile.
right.
I was gonna say, like, I'm so stoked. I'm like, sweet, I get a boar. Okay, cool, I get a puppy. Okay, I get this cool. The snake one is awesome. And then I'm like, all right, cool. These immediately go in the armory chest, and I just do, or the
Armoire.
glamour dresser, and I just never touch them again.
Yeah.
I don't even use them for glamour. They're just gone.
We've kind of gotten to the, we've almost gotten to the point where it's going to be the one that was happening during the, when is the Year of the Rabbit?
God, I don't know. I don't follow this stuff, but yeah, we're going to hit full circle at some point, and we're going to go, okay, how do we do this as a 1.0/2.x quest?
Oh, yeah.
Without it being weird beyond all reason for everybody that showed up in Shadowbringers.
So 2 years from now will be the Year of the Rabbit, which was also the one that happened during 1.0.
Gonna be real, I'm really excited for it. Not because I think it's gonna be super groundbreaking and amazing, but there's just gonna be Easter eggs for all of us old fuckers that were around back then. Just because that's how SE usually works. I'm excited for it, but for now, Heavensturn, January 18th. Go get your helmets.
Oh, it is also the 12 member of the 12 associated with this year is Oshan, the Wanderer. There is any amount of speculation going on with this as well.
All right. And
Seyrr, get closer to the mic, please. Oh, okay.
so to go with that, we
ahead.
also get Yoshida's New Year's greeting. I don't know if we need to necessarily read through the whole thing. He likes to write a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot to talk about this year. Even if, like, a lot of the actual game content got delayed, there was a lot going on in the development and the story and the planning.
But we did get our mysterious quote, this little poem. Our progeny may never know, wherefore we look unto the sky, nor why we dig for truths below. We bear their scorn or watch them die. From the Journal of a Resolute Man. And as Yoshi says, who is this resolute man? Seyrr, who is the resolute man?
I mean, they always leave it good and ambiguous, and I think for a lot of them, we never actually get a clear answer as to who wrote it. I could tell you that, as usual, the lore mongers have gone and grabbed all 4 language editions of the New Year's poem, gone through the translating, comparing to try to eke out any bits of knowledge. There is, of course, a thread on the official forums that has all of the poems along with the best effort we have at translating them. Don't know for sure, but current strongest speculation is that it has something to do with Charlayan. Charlayan astrology being the one that reads all the various things of the sky, uses it to try to tell the future, and to cast those benefics and whatnot. Benefics? Where do you put the stress on that? I've got enough stress to go around. Anyways.
It's all stress.
And Charlayan, and digging down to the depths of the earth, the Antitower, this research station trying to reach all the way down to the ethereal sea, was a Charlayan construction. They've always put themselves forward as one that just like kind of stands back, seeks this knowledge, but looks not to interfere. And so there's a suggestion that some of what's going on with Charlayan may start playing a bit into the story. Doesn't necessarily mean that we're going there, but that this could become an important element. Which, of course, I say can't come too soon. We still need to do something about Charlayan war crime loaf.
I had banned that from my brain, by the way. Thanks for bringing it up.
Now, thinly sliced Charlayan war crime loaf as an accompaniment to your Mountain Dew Gamer ramen.
Well, no, see, what you need to do is you actually need to make it into French toast.
I can't punch both of you from here. I can't. I want to. Real bad. Hang on, let me actually pull up the chat. So let's see. Yeah,
thick sliced, and just. But it sounds like.
Am I getting robot-y again?
No, you're fine.
You're good.
Bummer.
It sounds like the upcoming announcement showcase next month may have some more information, or this might make sense when that comes out. So it might be pointing towards some spoilers or some info about 6.0.
Yeah. And in normal circumstances, we would have had at least one of, I think, possibly two of the fan fests by now, because it would have been the first one in November. When I can never remember quite when they do the scheduling for the second.
I think normally, the Japanese one is usually around Christmas.
So yeah, they would have had two of the fan fests by now. We would have had probably the tile for the next expansion and dribbling out of some of the details. Of course, we're going to be getting most of that in the special February event. And a lot of that would, of course, tie into this. This is the bit where they start trying to build up all of that good hype.
Yeah, we're like 5 weeks away from that right now, I think. Something like that.
Well, the original London Fan Fest was supposed to be February 20th and 21st. So, as long as, after they said, hey, we're just not doing any of this stuff, they were able to kind of refocus some of that attention to make sure that everything's getting done. We're still getting the news at a good schedule and a good pacing.
Yeah. But I mean, as long as they're able to, continue to get the game updates taken care of, make sure that everything is working well there and all the development is staying apace, just release the game when it's done. That's all I got to say. Release it when it's done, working, no major issues. We don't want another Cyberpunk debacle going on with 6.0.
There was also a really, at the end of the message, there was a really kind note specifically to the healthcare workers who have been doing the work during the pandemic. Talked a little bit about a lot of the messages they get from them and how much those workers of those who play Final Fantasy XIV appreciate having it as a little refuge and a place to escape from the stresses of the day. And it sounded like Yoshi P himself feels very honored and flattered that he's able to provide something that's able to make their lives a little bit better in this really difficult time.
Yeah. I mean,
so it's really nice to see that little shout out there, that this fantasy world that we inhabit, that this is something that adds something to our real lives, that gives us a little bit of space to breathe and to process and to keep going for the next day. It's a nice thought, and it was really well expressed. I think I actually did tear up a little bit. I was feeling a lot of feelings that day.
Yoshida's been pretty good about getting this stuff, about writing his feelings and expressing things. So it's nice to see that he's continuing that, and that they're continuing to do their work and aren't letting the current world situation, get them down.
Everyone's doing their best.
I mean, yeah, it is what it is. Another little bit of Final Fantasy XIV news. There's another Pusheen crossover collaboration with some iMessage stickers. You can get for 99 cents on the Apple Store. Let me copy paste this. If you have
Nothing
Android,
yet, but...
yep, no Android, no Windows, but they're animated stickers, and they are cute. So if you've got an iPhone and you like Final Fantasy XIV and Pusheen, look into it. It's only $1. I remember the stickers that they had the first time with all the different jobs and the monster ones. They were adorable, absolutely cute.
That I think I had that one.
Yeah, those were just
have an iPhone back then.
No, those were just available to everybody. They were just little images. So
yeah, these ones are full-on animated stickers.
Gotcha.
The one of Pusheen being hugged by a Moogle is really heartwarming.
Yeah. And of course, we have to have some Final Fantasy adjacent news. Taliz, I think you put this first one in there.
Yeah, I did. So let me pull it up to make sure I get all the data right. So Super Mario Maker 2, anybody that has a Nintendo Switch might have seen it or heard of it. For those who are unfamiliar with it, it's the follow-up to a game where they basically released the Nintendo Mario Toolkit and let players make their own levels, which was really cool for the first couple of days. And then we immediately started making the most ridiculous hot garbage trash fire levels that were almost impossible for everybody. And so needless to say, it's been around for like 2 years, 3.
I mean, we've reached the point where people are making art pieces out of it in some form or another.
So one of those people is actually a dude named Composer. He actually does music. If you put a music note somewhere in a Mario level and then hit it, that music note plays a note, and it's a different note based on where it is and where it gets hit. So if you have a whole bunch of music levels and a bunch of Goombas that fall on them and bounce on them constantly, you can play stuff like Toto's Africa or Through the Fire and the Flames. And
Jesus.
one of the things that somebody has made is music levels are just the standard for anything now, where you just kind of are cruising along the bottom of the screen and it plays a song, or they turn it into a platformer that you actually have to play at speed, and your jumps and ice block hits and fireballs and everything is timed into the music, so you have to do it all to the song.
I've always really liked the autoplay levels that pull that off, but I know those are a really huge undertaking.
So they're really hard to do autoplay. The fact that this one involves you actually playing the game and doing medium hard platforming in order to play the song. But they've made the song The Decisive Battle from Final Fantasy VI, which we covered in a show a couple of weeks ago. So if you want to hear boss music from Final Fantasy VI while you're playing as Luigi, running and jumping and platforming against spikes and stuff, there's actually a level code that I'm going to throw in the chat, and hopefully it ends up in the show notes at some point. And if you have a Switch, you should definitely play this. If you don't have a Switch and you just don't really have the platforming capabilities, check out Carl Sagan 42 on YouTube. He has a video where he does play this. It's definitely worth checking out.
That's pretty cool that people do this.
Dang, this is like actually a really quality. Oh damn, the instrumentation.
Did you pull it up?
I am not. Yes, I am not going to attempt to watch the whole thing now, but just that first clip, like, okay, this was actually a really quality version of it. Like several instruments coming in. It's like a good arrangement.
Sarah, why don't you link that into Twitch so I can get, and then put in the show notes for me, please.
Oh,
Sure.
sweet.
So I found,
but yeah,
the one I found is just a random person playing through it on a stream. So he's of course having some halting attempts, getting killed partway through, but it gives you an idea of what's involved in it.
Otherwise, Taliz, you said
it's tough.
Carl Sagan 42.
Carl Sagan 42 is another good one.
Does he make apple
yeah.
pie?
No, he makes vaccines by growing them in plants.
Nice.
He's an actual doctor. He spoke at PAX at one point. He's like crazy smart, but his like outlet is Mario Maker. It's
Nice.
really fun to watch.
That's
the
pretty
world
cool.
is really interesting these days.
All right, and then another little bit. Seyrr, do you still listen to Ask Me Another?
Not at this point.
Okay, well, Ask Me Another is an NPR podcast. They do nerdy game shows type of things, and it's fun. This week's episode has some Final Fantasy references in it, actually. And I just thought it was kind of neat, and just wanted to mention that.
It's an NPR quiz show, so you might learn something from it, but it's still worthwhile.
Exactly, it's a fun show. But Final Fantasy X's world Spira was mentioned in a game they played where the guests had to determine whether something was a defunct tech startup, a prominent modern dance troupe, or a video game world. Can you imagine just...
I mean,
I would get every single one wrong. Oh my god.
if I didn't know already, I would probably guess Spirit to be a defunct tech startup.
Yeah, it's possible, but so they listed that one, and then they always have a special guest on their episodes, and this week's guest, Bowen Yang, he's on Saturday Night Live. He's actually a huge Kingdom Hearts fan. So that game, they decided to come up with a game where they would mash up a video game with a totally non-related television series, in the spirit of Kingdom Hearts.
Oh God.
So they mashed up Final Fantasy X-2 with the show Killing Eve. I'm not familiar with the show, but
I was gonna say I have no idea what the show is. However, the fact that they're like, we're gonna play Final Fantasy Princess Dress Up versus a spy series.
yeah, it's just so weird. I mean, why Final Fantasy X-2 of all of the games?
I mean, you got talented killer, spy, each woman obsessed with the other as tasked with hunting down the psychopathic assassin. I can see that leaking up.
Yeah, I guess it is kind of, but there's just less dress up, I think, right?
I don't know. They're wearing some
Yeah,
cool in that promo thing.
I don't know. Sean Delaney and Sandra Oh are both in the show, so like.
And Phoebe Waller-Bridge is the creator and one of the writers for it.
But why?
Okay, you're not starting from zero. Like that's actually not too shabby.
I don't know, but why couldn't they put like Terra and Kefka? You know, Terra trying to get away from Kefka on Gilligan's Island or something. Come on.
I feel like the joke wears thin fairly quickly.
Sound off in the chat if you've ever actually watched Gilligan's Island. Or if that's just an old man reference for the three of us.
Why are you doing this to us?
Oh, but it was just kind of funny. All right. So that's kind of all the gaming community news that I could come up with. So now we have one more disc to finish Final Fantasy VII's original soundtrack. Again, a huge thank you to finalfantasy.fandom.com. Their wiki is amazing. Lots of good information in that. So check them out if you have any Final Fantasy questions. There's a lot of good info there.
Yeah. So at this point, story-wise, given the tracks we've already done, we've been through, I think, we've gone through the first disc. We're a decent chunk of the way into the second. We got all the way to the Northern Crater, made it through the Whirlwind Maze, had some further revelations about Sephiroth and Cloud and the nature of what's going on with the great conflict at the center of the story.
And yeah, I believe the last one, and we basically ended with Cloud being his soul, so to speak, being dragged into the life stream, and then they find him kind of in a daze in Mideel.
Yep.
But the first song we get on disc 4 is Shinra's Full-Scale Assault.
This is one of those, like, you hear it and you almost wish you had a sword at your waist, kind of like, oh shit, bad things are happening track. But it's also very daunting. Like, if you were just standing there watching it, it's that feeling of helplessness that you get.
Yep, this song plays during the FMV when Barrett showing Tifa Meteor. When Cloud
this actually played all the way back in disc 1.
Yeah. It plays when Cloud is going through various obstacles and trying to reach the upper gate to get to Shinra HQ, as well as in Junon after acquiring the High Wind.
So yeah, at this point, pretty much any time that you go to Junon, which at that point has been equipped with, or is no, at that point it is no longer equipped with the Sister Ray, but it is still like, it's kind of, we went from this place where we had these big military parades, where it's a celebratory place, to it is now a place that's kind of not on lockdown, but keyed up for battle. But yeah, all the way back on disc 1 when we were doing that initial climb up the golden shiny wire of hope to get to Shinra headquarters.
Yeah, I suppose.
And it was like that first taste of it.
But yeah, I think we don't get the full playthrough of it until we get into Junon and the High Wind, so.
This is when Shinra is casting off any pretense and bringing its full might to bear on a situation.
Have we heard anything about the second chapter of the 7 remake?
They're still working on it.
Okay.
I don't think we've gotten any details at this
No.
point.
There's been
'Cause
no no new news
there's-
yet.
listening to the soundtrack the last couple shows, it's like, right, there's such cool stuff coming.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Instead, we have weird shadow hoodie emo boys and more swords, I guess. I'm like, no, I want more story. Give me the rest.
I just like the way the song plays because it's kind of got a lot of the military pomp and circumstance with it, as well as there are spots that are a little bit more sinister in their feel.
Yeah. There's still that Shinra edge to it.
Exactly. And this leads well into the next tune. Attack of the weapon. With the first weapon being Diamond Weapon at and the heading to Junon, and then they're when you shoot Sister Ray at it, correct?
So it was Sapphire Weapon that was approaching
Oh,
Junon.
was it Sapphire?
Diamond Weapon is the one that marches on Midgar.
Okay. I know it was. There was one of them where they shot the ray at it and to take it out. I just couldn't remember
Yeah,
which
that
one
would
it
be
was.
Sapphire.
So that one actually did take it out, and then more came, and then we had to actually fight Diamond, and then we got to, if you chose to, you could fight Emerald and Ruby,
And Ultima.
and then you can fight Ultima. Yes, Ultima's a required fight though, correct?
Nope. It's a lot easier to. You see it flying in the sky, and most people generally wanted to because it was less difficult than the others, and you got Cloud's ultimate weapon out of it.
Okay. But only Diamond was the required fight?
Correct.
Okay. Gotcha. It's
Yeah,
been
you got
so
that,
long.
like, that kind of like building crescendo with what sounds like little alarms blaring. Like you can imagine some Shinra control room with all things going off on high alert as you have this literal force of nature approaching.
Yeah?
The weapons being things created by the planet as kind of like a natural immune system response. They exist to destroy the things that threaten the planet. And right now, as far as the planet's concerned, that big old space rock is not the only, or possibly not even the biggest threat.
So, silly question. I have, like I said, it's been a while since I've actually done the weapon fights in 14. Do they use any of this in those themes? It seems like a lost opportunity to not use it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I honestly don't remember. I was so excited to get to pilot a robot last time.
That was hella fun. That was fun.
Also, there's so many Gundam references.
Yeah.
So many Gundam references.
Most of them, sorry. Most of the music involved actually ends up being callbacks to the Garlean generals involved that are invoked during the fights for various reasons.
Which is fair as well, but it just would have been nice to have this music as a part of the build-up. So, all right, next tune. Yes, this is an airship theme.
I was like, isn't this the High Winds theme? Yes, it is.
This is High Wind Takes to the Skies.
So you've got that main theme there. You had that little that kind of makes me think of like the propeller spinning round and round and round.
Yep.
And that kind of that high soaring melody.
It feels like a Final Fantasy airship theme.
Every time we get an airship theme, it sounds like we've achieved something that isn't just by power, but is also by skill. And it always sounds like we're rushing. Like there's kind of this windy, airy tone to all of them. And this one is no exception to that. It definitely sounds like an airship theme.
Yeah. Those first bits, that rising crescendo, shows up in another fun instance of flight in the game. at the Gold Saucer when you're playing the Mog House game, where you're attempting to encourage Mog to take that first flight that is apparently an important part of the mating display for Moogles. And so each time you manage to get him to take off into the air, you have that rising...
That's right.
Fly.
I remember that now.
Oh.
This is also a very long track.
But it's also a very good track.
I mean, it's something that's going to be playing while you're in the airship, so you don't necessarily want it to repeat too quickly. Given that you may be taking... It also depends on the game, especially in the later games where you start having longer flights as you're searching the skies for something.
I mean, you need to have something that's gonna, keep you entertained and engaged.
Yeah.
And this song definitely does that. It's fun just to listen to.
Yeah. I mean, we've kind of reached the point where every once in a while, you'll just hop in the airship and fly around and just enjoy the sights. And then after a few of that, you'll be like, okay, what's the next thing?
Yeah.
But we've kind of reached the point of the series where just flying around in the airship and seeing stuff and enjoying the landscape spraying out before you is the thing you want to do.
Absolutely. Well, this is it's a fun world to fly around as well. There's a lot,
especially
because
we walked through all of it. So we've been like, oh god, we have to deal with this, and then we're like, hey, no, we don't. Now
Also-
we fly over you. We win this time.
It was one of the big releases for the first releases for the PlayStation. It was the first one that had this full-on polygonal 3D world. So there is some amount of expectation that people are going to want to just appreciate it in its grandeur. For the time, it was pretty goddamn amazing.
That, and I think this also plays when you are, inside the ship, moving around and doing stuff there. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to do within the high wind, so.
Mhm.
But we can go ahead and move on to the secret of the deep sea.
From high in the sky to deep underwater.
Yep, this is the submarine theme. Probably one of the best places to kind of level up, to grind some levels.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. There's definitely better grinding spots.
Yeah, but I mean, this one's
Then
easy to get to. You don't have to worry too much about going too deep into an area. You can get out
You're
pretty
talking
easily.
about the crashed Gelnica, I presume.
Yeah, that's the submarine.
So I don't believe you fight in the submarine itself.
Well, yeah, there's something under there that you're fighting, isn't there?
So there's the Gelnica, which was a cargo ship that we saw Shinra using at various points to ferry stuff like the huge materia. That at this point, you can find the crashed remains of it at the bottom of the sea, and you can explore inside.
Okay, I thought the submarine was the place we were fighting.
Now, the submarine itself, you just explore around the depths there. Which there's a fair bit to see there, including tunnels leading to some fairly unexpected spots. Got a kind of serene feeling to it. There are also a couple moments that made me think of the Icicle Inn music. Which there's kind of that similar sense of everything had slowed down coming to a stop.
Well, I kind of think of this, this definitely makes me think, deep underwater, because it's kind of got that the whole Jacques Cousteau kind of feeling.
There's a little bit of mystery to it. You're deep enough that the world above is literally another world. You're at that kind of depth, and who knows what sorts of things you're going to find down here. Especially that giant green hulking form over there.
Oh, we don't talk about that.
So, Aliwitz in the chat just mentioned, I like how you can hear the ebbs and flows of the wind in the previous track and the movement of what we associate with water in this piece. And Pyrocat's hits with it reminds me of bubbles rising.
With this one,
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, good call on that. There's an element there I was having trouble describing, but I think you got it in one.
But yeah, I definitely think that Uematsu is good at giving you a musical representation of the different elements, like you said in the chat there, Taliz.
Yeah, there's notes, like it's like specific chords and note progressions that kind of lead us to think of our four elements of Final Fantasy: the water, the wind, the fire, and the earth. And when we hear those notes, even in a game that we've never played before, we go, okay, I just left a castle. I'm in a forest-ish and there's a path, but I'm hearing notes and it's making me think earth, and sure enough, you're fighting Titan within the next hour of gameplay. Like, it really makes you think about where the game is headed with the soundtrack. It's the same as the like brooding, deep, long violin chords. It's like, oh no, is this the scary, intense part of the movie? Yes, of course it is. And they're able to do this in a different medium. Like, you can do that in orchestral pieces, you can do that in film audio, but this is something that you're interacting with. Video games are a very, very cool medium where it is a movie.
Yep, and you need to
But
make
you're
sure.
a character, but you're not a protagonist. It's super fun.
Yeah. Whereas with music, I mean, you need to be able to, especially video game music, you need to get that feeling right away. I mean, you don't have, where it plays the entirety necessarily like you do with a movie or a TV show. You might not get through the entirety of the particular musical song within the fight or whatever element that you're currently working on. So you need that feel right away.
You might just be in the airship for about 15 seconds to jump over to this one thing. So you're just going to get that initial bit of soaring. So you better be able to nail at least some bit of it in that first 15 seconds.
Yes. All right. So going from the deep sea, we go to the provincial town. This is the town theme for the Bone Village and Medial.
Like, if I had to pick one word for this, it would be shady.
Yeah. Those chords kind of give you a little bit of an uneasy feeling.
Yeah. Like, there's nothing actively bad, but this is still a place that's like, you're maybe a little out of your depth on what's going on here.
Something's afoot.
Yeah. Come on, does that not sound like the thing for like some type of mystery show or whatever?
Yeah.
A little bit. I mentioned earlier in the chat, like, I want a 1950s themed Final Fantasy.
And this would be like the theme for like if our private detective or
Exactly. Like, I want brass outer decor on every building and a hard-boiled character as a main character somewhere.
Oh my gosh, it's like if LA Noire were Final Fantasy and also a little better done.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next song. Now this plays in Medial when Cloud is hurt, as well as in Rocket Town after the meteor has been summoned. It's called From the Edge of Despair.
The scenes with Cloud have an additional audio element of almost like a kind of wheezing, like of a ventilator operating or some type of similar equipment.
The rise and fall of it.
Yeah.
Well, like, even the title is Zetsubo is one of the sets of kanji in the title, which is just an ultimate level of despair. And it's not it's the kind of despair that isn't just sadness, it's the utter helplessness type of despair.
Shall I give you despair? Or do you prefer an apple?
Yeah, Zetsubo no Fuchikara, and it's the edge. It's from the, you know that you are one step away from being so broken you can't come back.
Yeah,
and for anybody new to the podcast, yes, I do like looking at the meaning of kanji for the titles of songs because it teaches us a lot of stuff about how the song was meant to be listened to.
Hey, it's helpful.
Absolutely. I mean, it doesn't sound as melancholy as the title would make it seem it should, but it is definitely kind of a little bit. It's a little depressive feeling.
Yeah. Like, and in terms of the despair aspects, the biggest thing that I would say is representing that is the lack of a path forward. Like, the element that, and this isn't the whole concept of hope and despair actually shows up in a lot of the more recent Final Fantasy games, with just this idea of like, okay, what do you do now? The being frozen in place,
Literally or figuratively. Look at Saz's son. Look at Luna Freya. Like,
yeah, it's like, okay, now what? You're in a bad situation. Like, in other situations, that could be like, well, stuff is bad, but we at least know what to do. We at least can move forward. We can keep going towards our thing. But this is we're stopped. We're frozen in place.
Yeah, they're kind of
we know what
stuck.
to do, and then we're Lassie. We know what to do, and then we turn the corner, and suddenly we don't.
Yeah.
We know what to do, and then Palom and Polam aren't moving anymore. It's bad.
Yeah, we know, but then,
And then
Cloud is
the sky
in a
is
hospital
ablaze
bed.
with eternal light.
But yeah. And let's go ahead and move on to the next tune. A little bit happier.
I'd say less happy, but more like maybe nostalgic in some ways.
Yeah, this is called The Other Side of the Mountain, and it plays when Tifa realizes Cloud's deepest memory when they're both submerged in the life stream.
Yeah. This comes during a sequence where Tifa has literally been walking through Cloud's memories of events. It's a sequence of revelations where Cloud is once again telling the story of how he returned to Nibelheim, how he faced off against Sephiroth, all the things that happened in there. But now Tifa is finally saying, no, this bit didn't happen. No, this is what happened here. This is the bit where she's finally confronting that fear and looking back at, hey, this is what really happened then. And they're kind of exploring, taking this heroic story that Cloud had told himself and looking a little bit more like, what's their true history, and finding like a different kind of heroism in it.
Yep.
So there is a kind of like tender nostalgic element to it.
Yeah, Cloud doesn't have to be the blazing hero that he was portraying himself to be when
The one that he always promised Tifa that he would be.
Exactly. While he does do a very heroic thing at the Nibelheim reactor, it doesn't go exactly the way he had planned. It was Zack that was the one who first confronted Sephiroth, and then he comes in later as just a regular Shinra soldier.
Yeah. He's the type of hero who says, let's mosey.
Yeah, this is, I mean, during some of these scenes, this is some of our first introduction to Zack too, isn't it?
Yeah, previously we had seen him in a photograph when we see that, hey, Cloud's memories of the photograph that was taken before they left for the reactor, all stuff like that, and then we see another version of them. But yeah, these are the first scenes where we're actually getting to really see Zack.
Mm-hmm. And if you've played Crisis Core, you'll know a lot more about Zach. I never had a PSP, so.
He is definitely one of the elements that I'm looking forward to seeing a bit of what they're doing with the remake.
Absolutely.
I must say, Crisis Core was such a divisive game. Like, you had to have a certain different piece of hardware, and it was weird. And you needed to know, you needed it for the whole story, but not everybody played it.
Yeah. I will say the soundtrack is amazing. I think it's same a lot of the same sound people that worked on that also worked on the Final Fantasy XV soundtrack. There's a lot of similarities.
So. That sounds right. Yeah.
If you listen to them, it sounds like they're very related. Anyway, continuing on. We gotta hurry up.
This is another one of those ones that has appeared at a lot of points in the game.
Yes.
This almost sounds like I would not be surprised if Yasunori Mitsuda was part of this. Like, it sounds like something he would write for one of the Chrono series games or something, somewhere you can be moving quickly, but still grounded in what you're doing.
There's definitely a sense of urgency with this music. It plays during battles in Battle Square. It plays when Sid and the party try to stop the runaway train from hitting North Corel, as well as when Diamond Weapon appears.
Yeah, all of those are good fits for Hurry Up.
Yeah, the loop itself is relatively shorter as well, which kind of adds a feeling of urgency and speed to it.
It sounds like an alarm. It's like an alarms loop is like 3 seconds or whatever. This is the same kind of thing. Like, we hear the sound, we're like, oh, it's still going. Oh, it's gonna keep going until I'm done doing this.
Yeah, especially with the segments of the North Corel train really heightens it. I feel like there's kind of an element of like hurdling. Like like this is not it's a quickness that's kind of like a chaotic one where you don't have a moment to pause and get your feet under yourself. You're just moving as fast as you can, and there's a decent chance that you're going to crash into something because you don't have the time to pick your steps.
It's really well done.
Yeah.
And Pyrocats and Aluwitz just mentioned, like, oh, hey, key shift. Yeah. Yeah, you think, oh, I have to go fast. Everything's going poorly. This is a good song for
no,
shit. No, it's going even faster now.
Exactly.
That's bad.
It was already going there, and then it just sped up more.
Oh, God, I have 200 of my 3,000 hit points. That's bad. Oh, I still have to keep going. Oh, that's real bad.
There actually is that sequence with the North Corel train where you've gotten to the front and it's got some weird archaic Shinra control scheme that is not especially intuitive and would not pass modern muster, but it's Shinra and they probably had some relative of Hojo do it for cheap. And so you're trying to futz with the controls and the train speeds up.
Or you're in the battle arena and you just spun frog.
Nope.
There goes that run.
No
so much
part
for
of that.
So much for the champion belt on that run.
I also hate those battles in the square where you're like, all right, I got this. If I crit this, I will win. And then you don't crit. And then immediately one of your party members dies. And you're like, rad. That's exactly what I wanted. All right, let's go. And then the music's still going faster and faster in your head. It's like, damn it, it's not good.
All right, let's continue on with the next theme. Definitely a different theme from the previous. I mean, we're not hurrying this time.
Like that slow, gentle strumming, it's almost melancholy.
Well, you are in space.
And we're actually getting some musical motifs that we've heard before at that.
Yeah, this is launching a dream into space. We have just gone into space on the Shinra rocket.
The Shinra 23 or 27 was it? Oh no, the Shinra 26.
So close.
Yeah.
But yeah, space is one of those places that can be both peaceful and terrifying.
Yeah, and you absolutely have to have Sid in your party for this. It is required because, I mean, this is the culmination of everything he's been working towards. This is his long-held dream, finally achieved. And there's that moment of just, like, being there, being staggered at the sheer grandiosity of it. Yeah, there's a little bit of the Highwind music in there, isn't there?
A little bit. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, like, the Highwind music is practically Sid's theme. Sid's last name is freaking Highwind.
True. All right, let's go ahead and jump to the next one, though.
Really shorter track.
Yes. Well, it shouldn't be very long. I mean, it is just a countdown. This is during the rocket launch sequence. There's a lot to think about when you're launching, 50 tons of steel and propellant.
Oh, there's that heroic crescendo. Or not crescendo.
And more high wind.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a frenetic feel, in part because the circumstances under which you're going into space. Shinra has been collecting all of the huge materia with the plan to load it up into the rocket, launch it all at Meteor, and hopefully blow the whole thing to hell. God,
Right.
which movie was it? Deep Impact, Armageddon? There were like so many of those that all had kind of the same idea of like, there's a giant meteor and we're going to like blow it up.
But we didn't go with a giant drill this time.
Yeah.
or Bruce Willis.
It was not the drill that pierced the heavens.
But so the entire reason for being on this rocket is the party has decided that that this plan is unlikely to work, and further that the huge materia as this agglomeration of all this knowledge and power of the ancients, that is something that's going to be more useful taking the fight to Sephiroth. And so you go to recover all of that, and that includes sneaking onto the rocket. Like, you're not originally supposed to be there. You have snuck on there to try to recover this thing before it crashes into the meteor.
We are Final Fantasy heroes. We're never supposed to be there.
Okay,
Ever. We
All right,
just
Dante.
show up and stuff happens. We are never actually supposed to be any of the
I'm not
places that we
supposed
end
to be here today.
yeah.
But I
It's my
assure
first
you,
day.
we are open. You smell shoe polish? Moving on.
Yeah.
Another very more relaxed theme. Pyrocats, the plan to get back to Gaia was to hope for the best.
We'll talk
The
about that
plan
bit
was
later.
YOLO.
Yeah, basically.
That was the plan.
Yeah. Anyway, this is called Open Your Heart. It plays during non-battle scenes at Fort Condor, as well as the Materia Caves.
Yeah, for Fort Condor, of course, you have that giant egg atop the Condor and the egg atop the reactor. This kind of like beautiful new life.
And the Materia Caves have their own mystique about them, so it's very fitting here as well.
Yep. I kind of like fading in and out bit.
Mm-hmm. It's just so many different levels of this music. It's just so good.
So your Alley Cats just throws down in the chat. Considering our cast, I feel like there's a lot of timelines where they don't make it back. Yeah. Yeah. We have we need the eclectic cast just for like the way the games are produced, but just the narrative in and of itself, the people that we have doing this definitely look like the type of people that are kind of destined to fail in some way, and we just don't know when. So when you keep putting everything against us, eventually someone breaks.
Oh, there's the bells.
Oh, I did. I said alley cats. Close enough. You knew what I meant.
This isn't my final form.
I will absolutely find some ridiculous thing to do in exchange for which I want Alleywits and Pyrocats to do the fusion dance.
I was thinking the same thing, actually. That was hilarious. We need somebody to draw that up.
Chat, podcast listeners, you can email us at podcast@PhoenixDownRadio with fan art, and we would love the crap out of it.
All right. Next one is quite different. Oh my god. They're hilarious.
Oh no. Everything is good, bad, and awesome all at the same time.
This is the Mako cannon. You know, nothing bad can happen with this, right?
No, it's fine.
Everything is fine.
It is the ultimate weapon of technology.
I mean, they're just shooting the life essence of the planet into the North Crater. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, there's some interesting aspects to the entire scene and how it all goes down here. That it's one of those other things that took me a while to realize just what is going on, and stuff that may not have been as clearly communicated. Because all of this is going on while the diamond weapon is marching on Midgar. The Sister Ray has actually been pulled from Junon and brought to Midgar in order to take advantage of its 8 Mako reactors.
Well, 7, wouldn't it be?
Okay, yes, 7.
To be...
Wait, no, 6, because the
yeah.
first and the 5th got blown up.
Yeah.
Whoop.
Well, I don't know. I thought maybe they were able to fix the first by now.
Probably no. They're like Shinra had shifted plans. Like there's a meeting you watch in on where they say that we are not going to be rebuilding. The plan has been shifted to finding the promised land.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that didn't end well. We know. So.
But so. This scene has the diamond weapon advancing, and ostensibly you think, okay, this cannon is there in order to blow the diamond weapon away. But instead, Rufus Shinra makes a decision to have it destroy the barrier at the northern crater. Even as the diamond weapon is firing the beams that blow up the Shinra building, and so far as we know, end him. Like in his last moments, he makes a decision to give us the opportunity to strike at Sephiroth. There's something interesting about that.
Yeah.
We see that a lot with a lot of the Shinra people, with the Turks, with Rufus, where in addition to all those villainous things, there's a certain pragmatism about them.
And then we get Judgment Day. This plays in the Northern Cave. Alleywits, didn't we make that joke 3 weeks ago?
We did.
Yeah, this is as we are making the final descent. The barrier's been opened, the pathway to where Sephiroth waits. It's there.
Yeah, this is a lot of build up here. This is basically the third disc right here.
Yep.
The next few songs are all disc 3.
I mean, Disc 3 pretty much is the opening of the Northern Cave, and you can still go around, do any remaining side quests, things like that. It's not like it's Xenogears or something.
Once you go to Disc 3, you cannot go anywhere else. Blah, 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 blah.
I mean, Xenogears' production was riddled with issues.
But yeah, you know some serious shit's going down with this music.
At the same time, it's like, there's kind of a trudging aspect to it. Like, there's not a clear, all right, and now it's building up to this triumph, whatever.
No, we don't know how to get to the bottom. We're slowly making our way down.
We have no idea how far down we even are. The path splits several times. You actually send different party members down the different paths, and so can get a variety of treasure depending on where you go and where you send others. Hilariously, Yuffie will keep some of the treasure for herself if you don't follow up with her enough on it.
Surprise, surprise.
Some people never change.
Yuffie will never change.
I really do want to see what they do with Yuffie in the remake.
Oh yeah, I am looking forward to that.
All right. Let's go ahead and jump in to our next theme. Which is a pretty epic boss theme. I mean, this game is just wrought with amazing bosses, amazing boss battles, and matching music. This is Genova complete.
There's so many fights that are just non-worry, you just kind of go in, push buttons, and you're done. You don't even need to worry about using your menu. Genova complete is one where you are making sure that you make all of your moves count. Yeah, because you will die.
Genova
you will get absolutely wrecked.
Genova Synthesis is a hard battle. It's not the hardest battle, but it's a hard battle.
Yeah. All throughout this, we've been fighting fragments of Genova. And in fact, there's the recurring thing of the concept of reunion, that these pieces of Genova, divided apart and injected into a whole bunch of people, will slowly have a strong drive to reunite and drive the people in which they are embedded to come together. And so these are those parts finally reassembled into one. This is the ancient calamity from the skies that destroyed the Cetra. All of its bits reunited.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, there were a lot of different status effects that Genova Complete or Genova Synthesis would throw on the party all at once.
I believe so. Let me check. I've got a thing about its actual battle AI somewhere.
I remember it. I think I ended up having to use the guide to get through this fight.
Yep.
I think I was over level, so I just ended up crushing it. But it's like it didn't feel good. It didn't feel like I did it right. It felt like I just broke it.
It did help to have Ribbon, though.
Ribbon is a legacy armor piece from like Final Fantasy I. And it is you don't get hit with instant deaths.
Or status effects.
Yeah. And if you don't have a ribbon, there's a spell called Wall that you use in its place. But it's not as good. Ribbon is the well-known, you have one, you're going to be a lot better off than people that don't.
It doesn't...
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yeah, the ribbon, it doesn't actually give you a huge amount of defense. Like physical defense. Like I said, its strength is the fact that you don't get hit with poison or instant death or zombie or slow. Exactly. Any of those.
Or mute or silence or whatever they called it in that game. But
I mean, some of them.
Your healer will never be silent. Your healer's never getting silenced. Your black mage is never getting silenced. Your warrior will always have skills. Your archer or ranged character will always have charge attacks.
Mm-hmm.
That's worth losing 10 or 15 points of defense, even at high levels. It's totally worth it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's frequently a thing where status effects are kind of a yes or no. It like either doesn't happen or it shuts you down completely.
in certain cases, yeah, especially if you get like bad breath from a Marlboro where it gives you, half a dozen status effects. I think Genova Synthesis had something similar where it would just hit you with a ton of stuff. Maybe I'm misremembering, but
Honestly, if I get hit with bad breath, if one of my party members does and one other person doesn't, I'm like, nah, kill him. Phoenix Downs are faster. It's so bad. It's so bad.
I remember that being a pretty tough fight, but that's not the end of it.
God, no. Multi-part boss fight.
This is Birth of a God.
Hilariously, I was just looking through the AI stuff. This boss, for instance, will have more hit points if you use Knights of the Round on Genova Synthesis. Like, using
really?
Knights of the Round on some of those bosses is like, okay, we're gonna make the next ones tougher, you fucker.
That's awesome.
I'm okay with that, actually. Like, hey, you use the cheat button. Guess what? It doesn't work next time.
Yep. This is the theme that plays during the battle with Bizarro Sephiroth.
Yeah, because Genova, of course, was this Calamity from the Skies, this thing that was injected in, and that Sephiroth sees as like the proof that first that he is has the legacy of the ancients, and then as more is learned about the nature of Genova, realizes that no, the ancients and this planet are his enemy. And there's a lot of questions out. He has, of course, been injected with Genova. Is Genova enacting its will through him? Has he subverted it and taken control of it because he's just that powerful? Is there a weird kind of integration between the two? The nature of the connection between the two is left good and ambiguous, but Sephiroth definitely does see himself as like this ascension of a god.
Tune in next time on Sephiroth Z. I mean, this is a good battle theme. It's got a lot of the feeling of a lot of the good Final Fantasy boss fights.
And I feel like there are some elements mixed in from some of the other boss music we've had throughout this.
I mean, this is a damn good one, but
this is a fight that also... This is another one where you break into teams and you are jumping back and forth between the teams. Since this huge monstrosity has several different parts that not every party can access. In fact, the number of parts that you have to fight depends on your performance in the previous battles, I believe. And so maybe that, okay, you are offered the opportunity to switch to another party, that disables one of its arms and so lowers the defenses. It's a big multi-part thing that's supposed to have a lot of moving parts to it.
it was definitely a lot to think about if this was your first Final Fantasy game or your first RPG in general. I mean, not many boss fights went that way. So, I mean, it was interesting that you had to really strategize not only who you sent to each area, but how you were taking everything on at that point.
Yeah, and you build a couple cohesive parties out of what you've got.
If you played 6, there was something similar as you climbed Kefka's tower, but
yep,
it wasn't like a huge assault on one boss that you're fighting and you're switching back and forth between the parties.
I would compare it to the final fight against Kefka in that you're given your entire roster and you're supposed to, like, they're trying to achieve this feeling of the entire group is coming together. It's like, this is the final fight. Why are 3 of us going ahead while everyone else just stands back? No, everyone get in there.
Yeah.
And they're trying to replicate some amount of that within the game's engine.
But wait, it's not done. That wasn't my final form. This is the song that people think of when they think of Final Fantasy VII.
it's honestly, if you say Final Fantasy VII soundtrack, it's this and Bombing Mission.
Yes.
Everything else is just bonus.
Oh, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's so much good in this soundtrack, but this is Uematsu's pinnacle of the soundtrack.
It is still very well known. It is very iconic. Whenever it's played at like distant worlds, he actually, though at least in Seattle, he actually walked into the choir and sang it with them.
Like the fact that you see the choir filing out. It's like when you see them getting up on the risers, you know this is a song that's coming.
It still gives me chills. This is the first song that actually had a chorus.
The lyrics are kind of nonsense, but it's ominous Latin chanting, and that's
Xbox,
about what you need.
Bing Cherries.
Xbox, Pink Cherries, Peter Pan, Ham and Cheese. Yeah.
Sephiroth. Now unhear that.
Hey, Seyrr, you like etymology? I'm gonna ruin it for you.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
It's gonna say, we're even now, by the way, from earlier. Just so you know.
No, we're not. I've got a couple more in the tank.
Oh, good. Fucking monster. Jesus. So for anybody who has not heard One Winged Angel before, as we continue talking over it, it is one of the most ominous, terrifying, reach for a weapon, I hope your inventory is sorted, your shit is about to get rocked, boss fight songs in video game history.
Yeah, if you hear this song in the video game, if you
God.
I was gonna say, if you hear this song in a video game, yes, it's that. If you hear this song outside of it, it is just an amazing song.
Full disclosure, when I'm dog-sitting Bowser, I will occasionally sing a version of this to him where most of the words are replaced with Bowser.
Seems legit.
Yeah, this is what you do when you have animals. You sing them nonsense songs where most of the words are replaced with their name. Bowser. Anyways.
Yeah, I remember fighting Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts, and the first time you walk in, you're like, oh god, it's One Winged Angel. Holy crap, that's really cool. Wait, I have an Alice in Wonderland key, Mickey Mouse shoes, and Donald Duck next to me. I'm rude. There's nothing good that's about to come out of this.
And while you were thinking about that, a reaction command popped up, and you didn't notice it, and now you're dead.
And now you are loading a save. You still have HP. It doesn't matter. Just load a save. It's gonna be better. Also, all of those full elixirs that you've been hanging on to for that moment that you're not sure when you need them, now is when you need them.
Right now.
Oh man, the
Literally
boys
now.
killed each other.
But wait, maybe there's something else coming after this.
No, the credits sequence. Just freaking no, stop it.
Oh, come on. You know you were that guy.
I'm only at 78% HP. I don't care. The amount of time that turns go in this fight, hit the full elixir, it might not even go off. It's gonna be okay. Also, this song is dancing mad levels of ridiculously long because final boss fight.
No, it's
also he has attacks like Supernova.
It's only half as long.
Who are pulling out Knights of the Round all the time.
Yeah.
Knights of the Round. Hit the button, go make a sandwich, take a nap, and come back, and the fight's still going. It's a good
Especially
time.
if you use W summon and mime.
But yes, his response to this is Supernova, which is a summon-like thing that has a comet striking through that apparently, like, it must be a parallel universe because it goes, said comet passes through all of our planets. It even has a nameplate for each one, as we see Jupiter, and then we see a giant hole open up in Jupiter as this comet streaks through it, going through planet by planet all the way to Mars, at which point it plunges into the sun, which then starts expanding, engulfing Mercury and Venus, and then finally reaching this one and switching back to the battlefield where this huge wave of the sun comes just up to your party. And then you take half damage if you're in the back row because apparently you were standing back a little bit from the fucking corona of the sun.
Because video games.
Yes.
Oh my god. That's such an apt description. I love it.
I have thought about this a lot.
But yeah, if you ever get a chance to go to Distant Worlds and you get to hear this live, it's life-changing. It's so good.
Your soul is at the bottom of your feet and it's sinking through the floor. It's also really fun to hear a room full of people, 75% of which are video game people that showed up in hoodies, and 25% of which are yearly members that showed up in a tuxedo on a Thursday night and are confused as hell as to what's going on.
These days, less of them are confused. They're apparently kind of into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then but then half the room just like is screaming when it starts, and then like all the like quiet retirees are like, "Oh, everybody seems quite excited. What is about to occur?"
I mean, like,
Death, murder is about to occur. Good luck.
At this point, it's happened enough time that a lot of the retirees are like, oh my gosh, the young people are about to do their fun shenanigans again. This is going to be great. They don't necessarily understand, but they get that it's going to be a great time.
If your concert hall is full, good job. It almost doesn't matter how you filled it.
Just an amazing opus.
Yeah, those bells there, again, it's like some of those elements from like those breakdowns in Nibelheim where we see Sephiroth slaying everything.
Also, the super, like, for anybody who is not familiar with Sephiroth somehow and is listening to or watching our show, the sword is long. Very, very long. And that was not an innuendo. Like, it's a massive weapon that literally cleaves everything in half.
All right. So
Good time.
we get through that. We finally get.
Thank God.
This is the ending theme called The Planet's Crisis.
Oh, we've got ourselves some Aerith.
I was gonna say, for everybody that's been listening for the last couple of weeks, you might recognize some of these chord progressions.
There's a lot going on in this.
Yeah. Starts with this vision of Aerith being lost in and then violently snapping back to the real world.
There's a lot going on with the whole live stream and Sephiroth and Genova being just like sundered, and we still have a giant meteor.
Because yeah, at this point, Cloud was about to plunge into the live stream once again, but has been rescued by Tifa. The two share tender moments, so we've got a bit of Tifa's theme here. Like, this is almost the opposite of an overture, where it's like, okay, we've got all these elements, and we're going to do a little bit of all those leitmotifs as we have each of these bits resolve.
I mean, there's a reason why it's 8 minutes long. We may have to play the whole thing and have Seyrr explain it all perfectly. And now we got High Wind. Or no.
No, that's High Wind music.
No, this
because there is in fact a bit where the actual High Wind plunges into the depths of the crater to help them get out of there. As all the entire reason all of this is going on, of course, is that we found that Aerith, when she was praying to back at the end of Disc 1, that she was able to successfully call the planet's ultimate protective power holy. But that Sephiroth has been keeping it back and restraining it this entire time.
And that.
So in order to unleash Holy to let the planet save itself, we need to remove that blockage by destroying Sephiroth. Now, with Sephiroth gone, Holy begins to move. But this means you've got this huge upwelling of life stream coming up through this crater.
And we're
This is
in
not
this
a good-
crater.
Yeah, this is not a good place to be.
No. So now we kind of have to hurry. Yeah, we get little bits of almost every song, it seems like.
I think it is actually every song for this one. Most of the albums have one track that's like this, but this one I think they actually did hit almost every single chord progression.
We don't have Yuffie and Vincent, but that is in part because they are optional characters.
True.
I believe it's at this point that we switch to an overlook of Calm the town, not Calm the state of being.
Yeah, because we're not calm yet.
No.
Marlene, Barrett's daughter, has been taking refuge there while all this has been going on. And drawn to the window, she opens the shutters to see Meteor even closer in the sky.
Yeah, the FMV for this is just amazing.
Disc 3 was basically the Sephiroth fight and this ending.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
A couple other things, but not really. Like, you could get to
fuck
stores and,
choke.
like,
Is this the point where Holy's starting to shoot out of the crater?
I don't think quite yet. We are very close to that.
Because this seems like a very holy kind of music right now.
This is just the planet. The meteor is getting closer and closer to the ground. Bits of Earth are actually like floating up to reach it.
What is this bit? I'm trying to remember.
This is back on the high when the characters are actually discussing what's going on. Like there's actually a few little dialogue sequences where they're talking about what's happening. And this is the bit where those little tendrils of light start emerging from the ground.
Okay. It's the planet coming together and starting to...
Right, no, I remember. At first, Holy had surged out of the crater, starts to envelop the meteor, but then it seems like it is actually starting to pull the meteor faster. Like, Holy is supposed to be this ultimate protective thing that the planet unleashes, and so it's like, has the planet decided to crash meteor into it in order to wipe out the people? There's been a recurring question all along about what the actual danger to the planet is.
Whether it's meteor or the people on it?
Yeah. And so there's a question of like, has the planet decided that no, meteor is a thing it will use to eliminate the true danger? But then you have these tendrils of life stream coming out, enveloping Holy and Meteor.
Which is basically the memories of all of the people.
Yep. There's some amount of question and discussion about if this is Aerith's will kind of influencing the entire thing.
And at this point, the meteor has been slowed and stopped.
Well, at this point, those tendrils have reached Holy and Meteor, are starting to envelop and wrap around the whole thing. It's becoming this brilliant conflagration of power and energy and who knows what. But it's kind of swelling up to this triumphant finish. And overwhelming light that just kind of blots out everything. And we do get this last vision of Aerith in it.
Which leads to the ending credits.
Yep. At this point, there's still kind of a bit of a question of, okay, so what the fuck happened? Did it stop it?
You're like, okay, did it stop? Because, like, I'm done. I'm pushing buttons and nothing is happening.
Wait, credits are rolling. Is there going to be more?
Is there a New Game Plus? Is there a post-credits scene? Was that a thing in 1997? Like, yay, ambiguously weird ending. Thanks, Japanese media.
Final Fantasy VI did have, even like once it got to the bit where there were the credits, there were still some scenes interspersed with it. So it's like there's still the possibility for more here.
Yeah.
7's just like, we're done. It's over. There's more things to see.
I mean, there is that last scene.
But yeah, it only took us 4 episodes, but Final Fantasy VII.
One of the most popular, one of the most well-known, one of the most requested re-releases that wasn't going to be re-released until something else sold more than it. Thank you, Realm Reborn, for making that happen. Yeah, this game is absolutely freaking huge. There's movies, there's a ton of spin-offs, there's tons of cosplay. When you say Final Fantasy to somebody that doesn't play video games, this is the one that they usually think of.
Well, you mean
It's the guy with the
guy
big
with spiky
sword.
hair and the big sword?
Yep,
Yes.
Hair and the Big Sword. Every time. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is a perfectly good game from all of the pieces that puts it together to make it play. And soundtrack is amazing. Art's fantastic. Character design is unique. It's very, very fun to play through when you do know some of the history and backstory, when you do understand how the music is built. It's also fun to just pick up with absolutely zero context and throw yourself face first into it.
It's going to be confusing as fuck, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's
dude,
definitely-
it's...
Most JRPGs
There's-
are.
There are some elements that just haven't held up as well in terms of like modern expectations from RPGs.
That's another problem is like, you know, you get to the newer players and you're like, yeah, play Final Fantasy V. And they're like, what the fuck is this? And you're like, okay, we'll play Final Fantasy VII. It might be a little bit more traditional. And they're like, I have to wait to push buttons. Like, it looks so bad. It's like, okay, play the remake. And then they're like, okay, this was cool. But now what? You're like, well, now you wait 4 more years to get another game, maybe.
No, there's talk that the next one might be 2022.
True, they don't have to go like whole cloth like they did with was it Agito/15, which took like 9 years or something insane to make.
10 years.
Yeah, I think some of the early work was in fact laying foundation stuff that would be used for all of them, so they don't have to reinvent the wheel for every step of it.
Well, like when they made so much stuff for 13, they're like, we made crystal tools, and then they made a game, and they went, oh crap, this is a worthless tool set. And now they're like, so it, you know, there's 2 13 spin-offs, and World of Final Fantasy took forever, and Agito took forever, and 14 got completely redone from scratch. Like, they, you know, they can spend a lot of time making framework, but if it works, like the 7 remake stuff does, cool. If it doesn't work,
Yep. Now we've got the Final Fantasy theme. The old G Final Fantasy theme.
I mean, part of me feels like it's there just because it's obligatory and not because it necessarily adds anything, but you know, whatever.
Still love to hear it. Just like
Yeah.
just like the prelude.
I want Prelude, I want Fanfare, I want this. That is like
And chocobos.
Chocobos. Chocobos definitely showed up.
Yeah, and all that stuff that Taliz was saying is coming from a guy who doesn't care for this game all that much.
I don't like this game. However, I can dislike the crap out of something and definitely respect the work that goes into it, the dedication that people had making it and enjoying it. And I can definitely look at it and say, no, it's a good game. I have no freaking desire to play it. It's still a very, very good game.
On the other side of it, I just described most of what happens in that ending FMV in sequence, so...
It's a game that is worth playing. Even as someone that actively dislikes this game, I've bought it like 5 or 6 times, and I have played through it a handful of times.
Yeah, we're getting to that usual bit where it starts swelling towards the end, though I do believe there's a couple extra bits. If you look at the timestamps on where we are, I think we've got more time in it than makes sense from what we're hearing now, because there's a couple post-credit scenes.
This was also them showing off, like, yeah, this was it a launch title for the PS1, or was it really, really close to being one or something?
Early on,
really close.
It wasn't a
So,
launch
like,
title, though.
You definitely want to push that hardware, and you want to show off pushing that hardware. So now that the next game that your production company makes, whether it's part of your branded, Final Fantasy or whatever your main brand is, if your production company's name is attached to another game, not only are we remembering this story, not only are we remembering this narrative, we're also remembering the memories, the music, the way that you were able to use this medium
Actually,
of video gaming so well.
PS1 was released in December of 1994. Final Fantasy VII came out in 1997.
Oh, that's
Was
true.
it that long after?
Yeah.
It felt closer.
Well, the thing is, okay, so we got Final Fantasy VI that actually came out after the PS1.
Yep.
Oh.
That last game after the next hardware releases is always really, really good and really, really weird.
And it's the
Yeah.
fact that they went from Nintendo to Sony.
That was a big switch.
So I think, there was that whole thing when Nintendo and Sony were actually working together to make the PlayStation.
Yep.
And I think Final Fantasy VII was supposed to be made for that.
Yeah.
Correct.
But then Nintendo decided they wanted to stick with cartridges.
Yep.
Nintendo was like, no, solid state memory. And everybody went, LOL, discs. And now Nintendo is sitting there going, hi, any questions? It's like, okay. Solid state did win. However, making solid state memory in 1994, 1995 was very different than making it now.
Yeah. And but it was also a lot smaller. It was not rewritable, and it was very different.
It was in its infancy. It was not a good thing at the time.
No, it was ROMs, read-only memory.
Actually, hang on. I can...
What do you got for us?
Here we go. Physical representation. This is a Super Famicom cartridge. That came out in 1995, so same era, give or take a little bit.
Yeah, Chrono Trigger was one of the other late releases of that point. Yep. And that one has more features.
Mm-hmm.
So this
Better
has
graph-
more stuff and is more advanced and uses 2 screens and has online connectivity and came out in like 2011, 2012. So that was still almost 10 years ago. This came out in 94, 95. Like, look at the size. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And so they said, hey, we're going to go to Sony because discs. And they went, all right. And now Sony has just had an absolute chokehold for so long. But all of their mobile, smaller stuff was running around on Nintendo, where we got things like Crystal Chronicles.
Mm-hmm.
And we got things like My Life as a King. We got things like...
We got Final Fantasy III.
Yeah, we
Like
got 2 and 3, which were
NA
4 and
release.
6.
Like, once the tech actually caught up,
Once the tech caught up, it was a very different story, but getting there, saying it was a challenge is definitely an understatement.
Yeah.
But now we're like, cool, it's been on Sony for so long. Do we Kingdom Hearts it where you need 9 consoles to play 13 games? Or do you have a scenario where you are a Sony player This is a franchise you get to play. You are a Nintendo player. This is a franchise you get to play.
Well,
Neither one of those seems like a super great solution.
But that's
There's
what's nice.
very fine line of demarcation known as the N generation and the S generation in Final Fantasy fandom, and take a wild guess where that line is. It is right in front of Final Fantasy VII. And you can see, I like 7, I like 10, I like 13, I like 15, and you're like, okay, that's a unique thing. Then you find all the older fans, and we're going, I like 4, and I like 6, and I like 1. It's a really, really strange line of demarcation to see in a franchise that is so big, that is so versatile, where Final Fantasy III is nothing like Final Fantasy XIV. And Final Fantasy X is nothing like Final Fantasy V.
Yet nobody says they like Type 0.
And nobody likes Type 0. Type 0 is bad.
I mean, I'm interested in it. I've been meaning to actually play through it.
Watch a speed run. It's pretty fun.
Like, at the very least from the videos I've seen, I've said it before, but that is the one that teaches you why summons are scary and why everyone wants to kill the summoners. Yeah. That's a side thing.
Step 1, kill a student. Step 2, summon Shiva. Step 3, win the game. That's Type 0. I wish I was kidding.
I'm more thinking of like the cutscenes with the summons, where it's like, oh, okay, I see this can wipe out an entire battalion and facility.
Nah, man, ice rollerblades. It's a good time. You should do it. It is honestly, like, I give it a lot of crap, but I did beat it twice, which is kind of huge for a game I don't like. But it is very, very well made. They definitely went and did something different and unique, which is what 7 was doing. They wanted to expand on how all the magicite worked in 6, so they made materia, which we're still using now in 14. 8 decided they wanted to create a junction system. Square Enix will always, always, always push a boundary to do something weird to see if it works before they will falter back to stay on the thing that they know works. They will always do the weird thing.
Yeah, we've had license grids, we've had sphere grids, we've had
advanced sphere grids, which are hell incarnate, by the way. So if you have one, I give yourself a migraine. I've got a good game for you. But like, it's cool to watch a company, regardless of if you throw a dart and hit 1991, 1997, or 2021, and say they're willing to push the boundaries. They're willing to make the music, to make the art, to make the game, to pick the directors, to pick the staff. They're willing to listen to their fans and change, fix, move, and shift things around so that the fans get a game they like.
Which is why I'm excited to see what they come up with for Final Fantasy XVI.
Yeah. Remember they released the platinum demo for 15 and people started dropping pre-orders? They noticed real quick and they went, oh, hey, you guys hate this. Cool. And they changed a lot of stuff in that game.
I didn't mind it.
I was okay with it.
They experiment. Not everything's going to land.
And that's part of the reason why I'm super fine with saying, yes, there's 94 games, and yes, only 10 of them are good. I don't care. 84 failures is nothing. Like, that's nothing.
Some of those numbers, but that might be a matter of individual taste.
I dare you to play King's Knight.
I don't even know that one.
Yeah. You go play King's Knight and come back to me. Play Legend 2 on the Game Boy and come back to me.
Oh, talking about Square, not Final Fantasy specifically.
Yeah, Square as a whole has made some messy stuff.
But then they've also made things like Nier. They've made
Ooh, it was given a 3 out of 10 on IGN.
They just said, hey, Enix, why we fighting, bro? And now we have Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy.
And Kingdom Hearts.
And Kingdom Hearts. And
Nier.
And we've
got Lara Croft, Tomb Raider.
We have so much. We did a Monster Hunter event in 14 not too long ago. What was that, 2 years ago or something like that?
It was in the midst of Stormblood, so a little in that, honestly. But
yeah, we had a Monster Hunter event. We had Garo. We had a Tokusatsu horror series crossover in our MMO.
We had Yokai Watch.
How big does your company have to be able to say, we're willing to take a multi-million-dollar risk with
we're gonna
every release they do? That's awesome.
I mean, the entire original thing was forged in the, hey, we're risking the entire company because that's about what we've got at this point.
That's Final
It's
Fantasy.
kind of in their DNA.
Yeah. I do
The
want to
Hail Mary
read.
game.
I do want to read the liner notes that came with this as well. Those are always
Absolutely.
interesting from the mind of Uematsu. There's one thing in common with all the Final Fantasy games. None of them are complete. All of the games are results of staffs from around the world trying their 200% effort and ambition. Too much ideas are packed in, while the game becomes blurred and unfocused. New ideas are being incorporated, but only dry and arid works come out. I think that is what we need to focus on to improve right now. Still, as a staff of Square, I really don't think is a big problem in the long run. If I were to compare it with the plant, the Final Fantasy will be a plant given premium nutrition, water, and light without the care of a gardener. The branches will just extend in their own way in any direction. A spring cleanup is necessary. The Final Fantasy series is nearing its spring cleanup. The flower might blossom in the next work, or maybe later. Though we are confident that someday present you a complete work. Well, speaking about the incompleteness of Final Fantasy, the music in it is not an exception. Still, I have put out everything I have right now, so I began to see what I really need to work on in the new environment. Speaking of the PlayStation, I think that it was the greatest harvest this time. Let me thank every staff, every Square member, my family and friends. I am also grateful to you fans from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much. And that is from Nobuo Uematsu.
Shout outs to Uematsu-san for creating music that we have been listening to for 30 years.
And I thought that it was just very perfect to read that with our discussion.
Some of that, it sounds like shade throwing, but I don't, it isn't. It just kind of
It's not.
seems, it's like, no, it's like saying, hey, it's this incomplete thing. It's kind of like the whole thing of like, if artists were immortal, they would never release a work again. There's like always that feeling of, it's not quite complete. I can make it a little better. I want to tinker with it a bit more.
It's never done. You just stop working on it.
Yeah.
And that's true of every artwork, whether it's written, musical, painted, mixed medium.
In that era of video games, I mean, you had to stop at some point. I mean, you could not just continue to work on a game. Nowadays, you can continue to send out patches and things to improve the gameplay, to change something, to add on additional things. When these were all coming out, the disc you got was the game you played. There was no patch day. There was no, fix for it. This was the game.
I mean, even then, at some point today, you do still have to stop working on it because you need to work on the next thing or else you're going to run out of money.
Or you just decide that it's good enough. And then you
hit certain points in, even now, like, okay, cool, I would love to sharpen up, this game to make sure that my copy of Final Fantasy VI has magic defense that actually does something. Guess what? It doesn't. I think it's magic defense or magic evasion in the original game literally doesn't do anything. There's like 4 stats in FF1 that don't do anything.
I believe it's magic. It's
Evasion,
one of the evasions because the other type, if you max it out, lets you evade pretty much everything.
Yeah, like there's just stuff that's broken that we would love to patch. The problem is that we go back and we play the patched version, the enhanced vanilla, as it were. And we go back and we're so used to things working in their broken form that when we play it correctly, it doesn't seem right. It's too perfect. It has to be a little bit wrong so that we can actually understand it. It's such a weird, art is so subjective and weird.
That's pretty crazy.
It's kind of like if it is too perfect, it just ends up feeling sterile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like I want my surgery table to be sterile. I want my hospital to be sterile. I don't really care about my shop being sterile because there's going to be grease on everything anyway.
Like, one surgery should be effective and not necessarily artistic.
True. Very true. And on that weird twist of a bombshell.
Yeah. We were going to have a lore segment because I thought it would be interesting to see what types of lore we could bring up with the world of Gaia in Final Fantasy VII. But
I mean, I can tell you briefly because we can talk about it a bit more next time. There are a lot of invocations of real world mythology, of other things like that, which is something that we are going to continue to see. We see in a lot of the Final Fantasy series. One thing you're going to notice as we're talking about all of these different games, a lot of the references that come up, is you're going to see some stories come up again and again. And that is a lot of people are like, oh, it's lazy, but it's like, no, this is a natural thing of storytelling. How often do you hear people talk about, oh, they're going to crucify me? When is the last time anyone got actually crucified? I think this is something that, like, as a regular thing, is millennia old at this point. This is like old Roman Empire type things. But we keep using that term because we have a story, we have a thing that is kind of baked into the culture about this one guy who got crucified and how it was this really horrible thing and had all these implications for it. We see these things because the stories of gods, of heroes, of stuff like that, these are the stories that come around time and again, that you can make this reference. It's kind of a trope in nice, easy form. So we are going to see a lot of these tales recur. We are going to see a lot of these references because it is a good way to carry this idea through, to explain, to give, hey, here's this element of this character that we want to talk about. That said, you can still have a lot of places where you're going to riff on it, where you're going to have your own version of the tale. While looking at it, I was at this stuff for Final Fantasy VII, I was looking a bit about ode about Norse mythology, Ragnarok, talking a little bit about Thor, and there's a whole thing about a lot of people will think Thor's hammer, only Thor can carry it. That was a thing that came from Marvel Comics. Like, if you want to talk a lot of the old tales, there is a very, very famous story about that depends on the fact that someone else could take Thor's hammer. And in fact, someone else did take it, and Thor wanted to get it back from said giants. And then Loki was like, hey, I have an idea, put on this wedding dress. That is an actual famous story about the retrieval of Mjolnir that involves Loki and Odin going off together and having crazy adventures why do I keep saying Odin?
Thor.
Loki and Thor going off together where Thor is dressed up as a bride and Loki as his attendant.
Crazy. So yeah,
reportedly, even in the story, Thor was not terribly happy with the whole thing.
All right, so yeah, we'll get more into that maybe in the next episode. We're gonna take a break from music for a little bit. We're gonna jump back into Final Fantasy XIV. We did have a patch. We'll talk a little bit more about that, and then maybe
a bunch of stuff happened in the patch. It was really cool.
And most of it's been done by me. I haven't done the weapon fight yet, but
oh my gosh, you should do the weapon fight. So
I've got 2 weeks. Give me a break.
So we've got some Final Fantasy XIV stuff. We've got some more Card of the Week stuff. Sarah's working on some librarian stuff. I'm working on some prep table stuff. So we're going to kind of get back to some of those segments that we've sort of abandoned over the last couple of weeks, months here. One of the segments that we abandoned like 5 ever ago was people's favorite memories of Final Fantasy. I found it in my notes from like ages ago, and we only got a handful of responses for it. But if you have memories of your favorite Final Fantasy moments, email us at podcast@PhoenixDownRadio, and we would definitely like to read those because we want to hear your guys' experiences.
You know, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be that. Just email us. We'll read it. Seriously, we like
We'll read
stuff.
almost everything.
Yeah, definitely. We'll even if you hate us and you realize that you just want to call us out for our bullshit, we'll read it.
Are people hate watching us? Is that a thing?
I don't.
Which we maybe.
We're
I
not,
mean, we did read some hate mail for a while. That was fun.
Well, there was the one person who hated chili, but
and there was the guy that hated me too on YouTube. That comment.
Oh yeah, that's right. But
fun.
It is what it is.
It happens.
I mean, we're not LBR, but Nobody can be a
Oh,
limit break radio.
On that bombshell. Good lord.
And that's gonna do it for this episode, guys.
Yep.
Why do we keep ending our episodes in Top Gear and in that style now?
I don't
Am
know,
I
man.
am I
This is on
Clarkson?
you.
Are you calling me a giant oaf?
Not
Don't
here.
answer that.
Orangutan. Who's
Don't-
Captain Slow? Seyrr, are you Captain Slow?
I think Sarah's captain, which makes you the hamster.
I'm okay with that.
And on that bombshell,
Also, thank you, Ekos Retsam, who just linked a book discussing North Smith's inspired Final Fantasy VII. There are quite a few in there, so I would definitely like to take a look at that book and see their take on the
all
subject.
right.
Thank you for the
Yeah.
recommend.
Thanks, Shake.
Yep. Thank you very much, Master Shake. And on that,
Oh my god, I want shakes.
that will do it for this episode. If you liked what you heard, please consider to like, subscribe, or follow us on an Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, YouTube, or whatever your preferred podcatcher is. And if possible, leave us a rating or review. It does really help us know how you guys think of the show, and it helps other people find us as well. Lets other people know what your thoughts are. If you really dig the show, you can consider subscribing here at twitch.tv/PhoenixStarRadio, where you get access to a whole bunch of subscriber-only emotes and badges. And you could also go to patreon.com/PhoenixStarRadio and support us out there, like our, what is she? She is our benevolent overlord. Our benevolent overlord, Aurori Fenrir. All the proceeds from those go towards growing the show, cover hosting costs, buy cameras, upgrades for the stream, and allow us to do some fun stuff as well. So if you have a few extra bucks to spare, we would greatly appreciate that. But any kind of support, whether it's emails, likes, tweets, or retweets, subscriptions, donations, all of that stuff is greatly appreciated. We just love interacting with you guys. If you have any questions that you want to send us, you can email us podcast@phoenixtownradio.com. If you have any memories you want to share, or just want to say hi and talk about what you like, hate, want to see change on the show, let us know. If you want to check out our backlog of podcasts, you can go to our website at www.phoenixtownradio.com, and you can check out our Facebook group out at facebook.com/PhoenixDownRadio. So, who wants to start with some shout outs?
Sorry, last time. It's your turn, bud.
Oh. Shout out to everyone who's just kind of doing their best right now. Shit's complicated. I can't remember the last time I got like more than 4 hours of uninterrupted sleep. And I know that I am not alone in that. So everyone's struggling a little bit. We're doing our best. Shout out to everyone who's just trying to get by. I see you. I hear you. I don't have anything helpful to say at this point, but you're not alone on this.
And sometimes just that's enough.
And sometimes it isn't, but what are you going to do?
And if you want to,
We power through.
if you want to find you, how
Oh,
can
yes. So, of course, we do have the Phoenix Down Radio Discord, which I am generally keeping track of throughout the day. But you can also follow me on Twitter at FF14Seyrr. That's FFXIV SEYRR, where I mostly post pictures of random interesting food, or not as much of like cool things I find when working at the library, but still a little bit of that from time to time. More of that once we start to reopen a bit again.
which will be hopefully sometime in the not so distant future.
Oh, good Lord willing and the creek don't rise.
Oh God, Alleywitz throwing out a petition to have Seyrr make encouraging voiceover ASMR.
Ooh. That sounds like my jam. Like almost as much as jam.
That means you need to get up on the mic though, Seyrr. You need to make it just sound just right.
Just right. This is Seyrr coming at you from Phoenix Down ASMR. Now, let's find what we've got in the queue today. Oh, hey, it's more of my going on about jam.
So
Something like that?
So they want to know. No, that's creepy.
I was gonna say, I feel uncomfortable.
I guess.
This is Seyrr inserting his voice directly into your ears.
Nope, don't like that. Don't like that.
Oh, so sometimes the things that you think you want, you don't want.
Be careful what you ask for, people.
Learning has occurred.
Oh,
God.
no regrets.
So where can you be found? Did you ever say it or no?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Once again,
Yeah,
you
he
can
did.
find me on Twitter.
Okay, I couldn't
at
remember. I got creeped out.
FFXIV. That's FFXIV SEYRR. Oh my god, people keep thinking they want things.
I
Like,
can't
I
unhear
will
this.
provide
They're
you with
saying, "Oh my
information
god."
knowledge. That's what I do, but that's going to be a thing.
We still love you guys. I hope you realize that.
No regrets.
Taliz?
No regrets. So I just wanted to shout out a bunch of my friends, Sarah and James and Kat and Sue, who came over today and helped Bannon and I make the shop actually usable. There is space, and we can now work on a whole bunch of more stuff, which is super, super cool. So thank you guys very, very much for assisting and with staying to stay as good at the social distancing and masking as possible while we were all moving a lot of stuff around. So thank you guys very much for that. Seyrr, I would like to shout you out specifically for dragging me kicking and screaming into watching a television show that I ended up absolutely falling in love with. So thank you for that. It was appreciated. It's The Good Place. I'm using references from it to help one of my line cooks who is studying philosophy this quarter for the very first time.
Yeah, it's like, hey, it's a show on a major network that teaches you about moral and ethical philosophy. And it's still pretty damn enjoyable.
Teaches is a strong word, but if we go with all lowercase letters on it, it might be okay. But yeah, anyway, so thank you very much for that. That was a lot of fun. You can find me basically nowhere because social media is a dumpster fire and I try to stay off of it. But if you really, really like me for whatever crazy reason, I'm real name Marvelous. You can find me on Facebook. You can also find me at Marvelous Tofu on Instagram and TikTok, where I post more crap about my business than I do about my personal life. So get ready for car stuff.
Honestly, that's probably the most reasonable use of social media at this point.
Well, especially since it's charity work, so.
Exactly, since it is nonprofit stuff, and oh my god, it's a lot of work, but it's also a lot of fun.
And rewarding.
Agreed.
Because I've always found that the stuff that I do for like Extra Life or whatever charities we're supporting, like when we did the Blitzball stuff, all of that type of thing was the most rewarding things that we were able to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So good on you for actually trying to, make a career out of philanthropic work. I hope it works out well.
I do too. I also know that I'm probably going to continue delivering pizza for a pretty sizable amount of time, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, everyone needs a side hustle.
Like I said, look forward to the upcoming charity stream to try and help Marvelous Motors get going in the future. So, follow our socials at PHXDN Radio on Twitter. Follow me at PHXDN_KLAUSS. We will post about these things on our all the different social medias that you can find. And if you see something like that, please share it, retweet it. Let other people know about it so we can help, make that dream of Taliz a reality and keep it going.
Thanks, guys.
And I just want to shout out you two as well for just being a couple of crazy knuckleheads who sit down with me every other Saturday night and BS about this amazing series that we love. It really does help ground me a little bit, especially with the shit that's been going on in the world and in my personal life. Being able to just sit down for a couple hours and, just have fun, honest to God fun. It's nice. So thank you for that. Shout out to everybody listening to us live here at twitch.tv/Phoenix Down Radio. Allie, Pyro, Shake. You guys have been having a lot of fun in chat. It's lovely to see. That's why I like doing the show live, because we get the interaction with you guys. Shout out to everybody listening out on the podcast. Keep listening. We hope you guys are still enjoying the show. And like I said, if you can, tell your friends. The more people we can get listening to it, the bigger we can get, the more cool stuff we can do. we've been doing this for over 5 years now. God, can you believe that? Over 5 years.
Oh, man. Special live event, Phoenix Down Radio gets vaccinated.
Hey, that could happen.
I'd do it.
I would like that.
Though I don't think that they would allow us to because medical reasons. But
Anyway.
Like I said, you can find me at phxdn_KLAUSS out on Twitter. Maybe post there every once in a while. A lot of it's going to be trying to follow some other philanthropic people like Mr. Beast. God damn it, he's amazing. Bill Pulte has been doing a lot of Twitter philanthropy. If you follow him, he's been giving just away tons of money to people in need. It's just so nice to see people helping other people, and that's kind of making me feel better, especially with everything else that's been going on.
Yeah.
So, for my co-host, Seyrr Timono, for Taliz Marvelous, I'm Klauss Nightbringer, wishing everybody a wonderful evening. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Phoenix Down Radio is a production of PhoenixDownRadio.com and Illusion Productions. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. In-game content for Phoenix Down Radio is the copyright of Square Enix. Opening music for Phoenix Down Radio is provided by Guilty Gear Rock You. Check out the Metal Chocobo theme cover and many other music videos at youtube.com/Guilty Gear Rock You. Closing music for this episode is provided by Guitar Wanker 90. Please check out their full version of Matoya's Cave and other rock video game covers at youtube.com/Guitar Wanker 90. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of Phoenix Down Radio and its hosts and do not reflect the views of Square Enix.